Ready? Okay, I'll call this meeting to order. This is the Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation Special Board of Directors meeting. It is November 20th, 2025, and it is 9 a.m. I would like to first start by asking Essa, if you would please take a roll call.
Today in attendance, we have Chair Gary Mackler and Directors Sean Sasaki, Grant Chun, Scott Glenn, and Designee Mary Alice Evans.
We have five. We have a quorum. Okay. I'd like to go on to the approval of minutes. First, under A, the special meeting minutes of October 2nd, 2025. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
And is there a second? We have a second. Is there discussion? Directors? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next, we have under B, the regular meeting minutes of October 9th, 2025. Could I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion, directors? Okay, those in favor of the motions, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Okay, so before we move into section 3 of today's agenda, I'd like to ask Gordon Pang to come up. We will be taking public testimony on the agenda items and I will get to that. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning and good morning to the members of the board. Hello to you all. This is for the members of the public participating either in person or remotely. These are the instructions if you would like to provide testimony at this board meeting or any board meeting on board agenda items. Number one, all remote attendees will need permission to speak or share screen by clicking on the raise hand icon. Again, if testifying remotely, when the chair asks for those providing testimony, please click on the raise hand icon. If testifying in person, when the chair asks for those providing testimony, please raise your hand, your real hand. Whether you are testifying in person or remotely, when called upon to testify, please state your first and last name and provide the name of any organization you represent. At the discretion of the chair, each testifier will have 3 minutes to speak per agenda item. At the 3-minute mark, I will yell time. We ask that you take no more than 15 seconds to conclude your testimony. Please keep in mind that this is an opportunity for you to share your thoughts with the board only. Neither the board nor staff are required to answer any questions you may ask during your testimony. If you are wishing to submit written testimony, instructions for doing so are located on the first page of the agenda under the section titled Providing/Submitting Testimony. We request that written testimony be submitted no later than 3 business days prior to the scheduled meeting to ensure that the testimony may be distributed to the board members prior to the meeting. Written testimony submitted after the 3 business day timeframe will be made available for the board's review, posted on the HHFDC website as soon as practicable. Thank you for your cooperation.
Thank you, Gordon. Okay, moving into section 3, which is discussion and or decision making. The first item is 3A, which is authorizing the executive director to recruit an executive assistant and to recommend a candidate to the board. Executive Director, Tommy, would you like to?
Yes, as you are aware that there's 2
okay, I'm getting ahead of myself.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
And we have a second. Before you begin, I also want to ask Director Chun if there is anyone present with you in your remote location.
No, there's not, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. As the board is aware, HRS 218-2 does allow the board to employ an executive assistant, which is basically someone similar to a deputy who helps to manage the corporation. Pursuant to our bylaws, person is employed or approval is required by the board to hire this person. We think that the most efficient way to go about recruiting the position would be to post a position. And without staff, I'll form a committee of staff members to evaluate applicants and make a recommendation to the board for approval. This position has been vacant since January of last year. The last executive assistant was Craig Hurai, who retired in January of last year, of this year.
Thank you. The directors, questions? Okay, no questions. All those
I
in
have a
favor?
question. I have a question.
Yes, Director Chun.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to request clarification from Mr. Minakami as far as I don't have any problem with the specific request to clarify, but just on a broader scope, wondering about the work of the agency in looking at our salaries within the staff and the work that's occurring to ascertain, the level of salaries and whether they are suitable given the needs of the agency and future capacity of the agency being top of mind.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, directors, for that question. It's actually very timely. I have asked the staff to evaluate salaries for positions within their branch. And really, I think that it would be good if we could increase salaries of some key staff members, that we are competitive with other state agencies, much less the private sector in recruiting qualified personnel. The staff here are highly specialized. They have very specialized skill sets, which are hard to find. And if someone leaves, it's hard to replace those skills. It's important that we offer an adequate salary, recruit staff, and to retain them. So thank you. Yes, and we are working on that, and we'll be proposing adjustments which must be made legislatively, basically.
Thank you. Is there anyone who would like to give testimony on this agenda item? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it's a unanimous vote. Motion carries. Okay, we can go on next to agenda item 3B, which is to approve resolution number 221, which provides for official intent with respect to the issuance of Hula May multifamily tax exempt revenue bonds. And 2, reservation of low-income housing tax credits for the Mayor Wright Homes Phase 1A project located in Honolulu, Oahu. TMK number 11-7-029-003. Do we have a motion to?
So move.
Second.
We got 2 seconds. That's got a third. That's good. Thank you. Is there anyone in the public who would like to offer testimony on this agenda item? Okay, hearing none, we'll just turn it over to our finance manager. David Oy.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Chair, members of the board. David Oy, Finance Manager for HHFDC. This for action is to award a reservation of low-income housing tax credits and approve a resolution for the official intent to issue Hula May multifamily revenue bonds for the Mayor Wright Homes Phase 1A project at 606 North Kukui Street in Honolulu, Oahu. The applicant for this project is KLM Mayor Wright 1A LP. This is a single asset real estate holding company established to develop, own, and operate the project. The general partner of the LLC is HHFDC Mayor Wright LLC, and to be formed HPHA nonprofit entity. Irish Costa Development Company is the managing member of Mayor Wright LLC. The project will be the first phase of a leasehold project on land owned in fee by the Hawaii Public Housing Authority. The project will consist of 308 units for families earning at or below 60, 50, 40, and 30% of the area median income. This phase will be a mix of studios, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 bedroom units, and has committed to an affordability period of 99 years. The development team for this phase consists of foreign partners, Hawaiian Dredging as the general contractor, and Michael's Management as the property manager. The scheduled completion for the project is May 2029. On February 14th, 2025, the applicant submitted a consolidated application to HHFDC for the project, requesting $126,256,367 in authorized issuance of HMMF bonds, $12,387,417 in federal low-income housing tax credits over 10 years, and $12,387,417 in state LIHTC over 5 years. They also requested an $80 million rental housing revolving fund loan, and this request will be presented in a subsequent board action. The total development cost for phase 1A of the project is estimated at $259,898,995. This translates into $843,828 per unit based on the total development costs, and $558.10 per square foot based on a total project area of 340,313 square feet. While the cost per unit for the project is above the applicant pool, the cost per square foot, is in line with the pool average. The developer's fee for the project of $27,352,277 represents 10.5% of total development costs, which is above the group average of 8.65%. The project has also stated a contingency budget of $9,118,777. When coupled with the net developer fee, which would be the total developer fee minus the deferred amount, this would result in a net developer fee of $8,205,683. This would result in a total contingency of 9.12% of project costs, which would be sufficient to absorb a 9% increase in construction costs. The primary financing for this project will be LIHTC equity, a construction loan financed by the HMMF bond proceeds from Citibank, which will convert to a permanent loan, the rental housing revolving fund, and a deferred developer fee. Approximately $3.3 million of deferred developer fee will become a part of permanent financing. To support the project, the state legislature appropriated a $56 million cash infusion into the rental housing revolving fund as a part of Act 250, Session Laws of Hawaii 2025. This infusion reflects the legislature's commitment to the governor's target of redeveloping the 10,000 units in the collective Kalemomi HBHA initiative. Additionally, the Hawaii Public Housing Authority has committed 62 Section 8 project-based vouchers to contribute to operational revenue. In terms of readiness, the project has processed its 343 exemption in December of 2023. The HHFDC board approved the 201H exemptions for the project on January 11th, 2024. Permit applications were submitted to the Department of Planning and Permitting for Phase 1A on August 20th, 2025. The applicant has received its initial comments, is in the process of resubmitting revised plans. The project anticipates receiving its permits Q2 of 2026, with financial closing in Q4 2026, and beginning construction shortly thereafter. The proposed inducement resolution for bonds before the board today is a non-binding resolution stating only the intent of HHFDC to possibly issue tax-exempt revenue bonds. Approval of this resolution does not commit or obligate HHFDC to issue bonds. The approval will be referred to as an official action by HHFDC and the issuer as the issuer, which is a requirement of the multifamily bond program. Upon the completion, submittal, and staff review of all other requested items and requested information to determine feasibility and to achieve financial closing, staff will return to the board to seek final approval for the issuance, sale, and delivery of the bond. Final issuance is subject further to the approval of the Department of Budget and Finance and the approval of the governor. Approval of this resolution would also make the project eligible for the requested reservation of 4% non-volume LIHTC, which would be made in accordance with the terms of the 2025 qualified allocation plan. Staff has reviewed the request and recommends that the HHFDC board approve the following. Approval of resolution 221, which is attached as exhibit C to the 4 action, which provides for the official intent with respect to the issuance of revenue bonds of up to $126,256,367 for the Mayor Right Homes Phase 1A project, subject to the provisions and conditions recommended in exhibits D and F of the 4 action. Also requesting the approval to reserve up to $12,387,417 in annual federal LIHTC over a 10-year period and $12,387,417 in state LIHTC over a 5-year period from the non-volume 4% LIHTC pool. Subject to the provisions and conditions recommended in exhibits E and F of the 4 action. And also requesting the approval to authorize the executive director to undertake all tasks necessary to effectuate the purposes of this 4 action. We have the developer team. Momo Hana is joining us remotely. Sam Arico is joining us here in person to do a presentation for their project. So
Before they come up, Director, do you have any questions for David this time? I do also just want to note that we received written testimony from the executive director for HPHA, Akeem Wasabi, in support of this. And so why don't we go ahead and take the presentation and then.
May I just make a note before they start that?
Yes, you can.
HPHA board is meeting right now. They have their own urgent matters to address, which is why the executive director can't be here in person.
Aloha, members of the board, Director Melakami. Thank you for the opportunity to present Mayor Right Homes Phase 1A today. This has been in the works for quite a long time. We're really excited to be here before you guys today and really have a clear path forward to starting development on the first phase of Mayor Right. So today we'll go over briefly our team. I know we've been here quite a few times over the last 2 years on various HPHA properties, but give you a brief overview of our team and quickly go through design, financing, and schedule, and then open it up to questions you guys may have about the project. This is one of many public-private partnerships between the HPHA, High Ridge Costa, and foreign partners. We've been lucky to work on various projects over the past year and various projects within the Kaliimomi redevelopment, which is a statewide redevelopment initiative by the Hawaii Public Housing Authority to create 10,000 new units across the state. Back in 2023, High Ridge was selected as the master developer of Kaliimomi. Since then, we've been working really hand in hand to entitle almost over 5,000 units and be in for permit for about 500 and hopefully start construction within next year about almost 1,000. So really great progress in the last 3 years and really shows the commitment the HPHA has to creating affordable housing across the state. This is a brief kind of overview of the Kaliimomi initiative. Mayor Right was really the priority project kind of out of the gate. It had the most existing due diligence across the 9 target sites. There's 4 of the 9 sites are fully entitled. That's that 5,000 kind of figure that I represented between Mayor Right, Kapa'a, Lanakila, and Kakamano. And then Mayor Right Homes Phase 1A and 1B, which is kind of the sister project of 1A, are in for permit. So quite a lot of movement. And then I think Kapa'a is our next priority project that should be in for permit in Q1 of 2026. So a lot of movement on the KLM portfolio-wide redevelopment initiative. I know the HPHA needs no introduction with the HHFDC board, but just want to again commend their commitment to housing and really have closed, they're on track to close 3 deals in 3 years and create almost 1,000 units here on Oahu. So big kudos to them. Briefly, I'm with High Ridge Costa, the master developer of Mayor Right. We've been in business for over 30 years. We've created over 30,000 units across 300 projects. and, have developed in over 30 states. But our primary focus the last 5 years has really been creating housing here in the state of Hawaii. Pretty much our entire development portfolio or pipeline, excuse me, is here across the state. We've made a really big commitment to create new housing here on island. And then with us here today is our development partner, Forum Partners. They specialize mostly in market housing and commercial real estate development, but we've really been able to leverage their experience and efficiencies in design, managing kind of those market rate conditions and bringing both that cost efficiency, design efficiency, as well as kind of an upscaled look to this community as well. So I'd like to go briefly over some typical floor plates at Mayor Wright and some unit plans, just at a high level here. Starting off though, we mentioned this briefly, but the phase 1A is the first phase of a 10-phase master plan at Mayor Wright Homes. It's almost 2,500 units. Each phase is individually amenitized for that community, but there's also plans to really offer some greater community amenities to kind of connect the surrounding neighborhood to Mayor Wright Homes, hoping this is really a catalyst to redevelopment in the Kalihi Iwalei area. Beyond the 10 phases of development, we really are trying to prioritize that a really big public park, and then hopefully a large community building that can be used for the outdoor community. And we've also really, worked and built atop the work from the city and county's TOD design master plan to really kind of create design elements that connects the community to the surrounding neighborhood, focus on pedestrian and bicycle safety and experience, and then as well as really try to connect the later phases of Mayor Wright to the rail expansion that's planned over the next 5 to 10 years. This really illustrates kind of integrating the first 2 phases of Mayor Wright into the surrounding public housing community. We understand that relocation is obviously a very big impact on families that are impacted by development. And so, it's been a priority by both the HVHA and Higher Edge to really phase out development and demolition relocation to try and minimize that impact on households. But what is really illustrated here is that these first 2 phases are going to be creating over 550 units of new affordable housing. The entire Mayor Wright community currently only has 360 units. So the goal is, as we try to phase and get more momentum, we're really going to just be moving, families from existing Mayor Wrights into a brand new unit, trying to really minimize that impact. But this is kind of just illustrating the integration of the first 2 phases into the existing master plan. I'll go over a few just kind of standard floor plates for the project. This is the ground floor podium level. There's vehicular and pedestrian access off Pua Lane. We also have a very small retail component that kind of anchors the Vineyard and Pua Lane intersection, as well as some ground floor, lobby and management areas. There's going to be mail and package room, loading areas, some back of house mechanical systems, and on-site laundry facilities for the residents. This is the floor plate for floors 2 through 5. Again, the HPHA's priority has been to create as much housing units as possible. So they've asked and designed this with us to, put housing units on floors 2 through 5 of the parking podium. So this combines both the parking podium and the residential units on these phases. I will note too, because Mayor Wright is really, the existing community services, very large family units, 2, 3, 4, and 5 bedroom units. It's a priority for the HBHA to replace, all those large bedroom units that are demolished and give them an opportunity to move back to Mayor Wright. The way that we've designed it here is to really anchor those 4 and 5 bedroom replacement units. While it's a very small percentage of the total overall unit makeup. We're able to kind of anchor them here on these lower phases. Both I think that helps from just the livability. If you're trying to move a family of 8 or 10 down through to the ground floor, it's just a lot easier. So those kind of larger units are anchored here on floors 2 through 5. This is the amenity deck on floor 6. You can see there's a pretty generous outdoor and indoor spaces. We have, we're still programming the final design of the outdoor space, but it's intended to have some barbecue areas, gathering, and then some also landscaping, potential garden areas for for residents, as well as indoor amenities as the community room, which can be partitioned into 2 rooms. It has 2 working kitchens. So multiple families can kind of utilize the space for gatherings, and a indoor fitness room as well. And then this is the floor plate from floors 8 up. Again, really standard floor plates, kind of moving up, trying to maximize design efficiency. I know this is a little busy, but just wanted to demonstrate the different amenity levels and residential levels. And again, I apologize for the low resolution image on these typical floor units or typical unit plans for 2 and 3 bedroom, but I just wanted to highlight that we've really thought through kind of the design and livability of these family units. I know it's kind of atypical to offer these really, large bedroom units in these, type 1 construction communities. And we've really tried to take a hard look at the livability, the furnishability. We've made sure on each unit that, for a 2-bed, for a family of 4, you can fit, 2 chairs, have 4 seats for, living room. As you can see, as we move to the 4 and 5 bedroom replacement units, again, we've tried to make sure it can fit a family of 8, fit a family of 10. There's 2 bathrooms for each 2, 3, 4 bedroom, and there's a 3 bathroom for 5 bedroom for, again, the livability of those residents. And you can see too, there's generous accessibility and clearance around furnishing. So it's not just trying to cram, a bed into the bedroom. So again, very generous living spaces. This isn't the final design of the exterior facade, but this is kind of our, vision for the project. Obviously, this is, a 30-story product. We're trying to break down the massing as best we possibly can, through the use of color mostly and some, exterior facade elements to try and, both create some visual intrigue on the building, but also trying to, again, break down the massing because it doesn't seem as imposing. We're still working through kind of the final design and material selection and the feasibility, but this is kind of the vision that we're going after. This is just a ground floor example to kind of give you a streetscape view of the community. This is on Pua Lane looking Diamond Head. Again, trying to break up the project as much as we can and really enhance that pedestrian walkability so it doesn't seem as imposing to the pedestrian user. I'll briefly go over the financing of the project as well. I know this table is a little busy, but what we wanted to illustrate is that we're going to be really serving a wide variety of families and individuals. There's 6 different bedroom types between studios and 5 bedrooms. And then, like David said earlier, the AMI restrictions, there's a wide range of 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. So there's really going to be a unique blend of individuals and households living here. That's a big commitment from the HPHA to kind of create this mixed income community. What's not represented here is that we're going to be having public housing replacement units here by way of project-based vouchers. So while it says 30% AMI restriction, there's likely going to be tenants that fall between 0 and 30% AMI as well. So really, it's almost a 0 to 60% AMI bracket and a wide ranging of affordability, creating that mixing community that's so integral for the HPHA's vision for Kaleimomi. And I know David kind of went over briefly the sources here, but just wanted to kind of highlight our financing sources. I know we talked about the tax credit and bond commitment, but the state legislature did allocate $56 million to this project. We've requested another $24 million to kind of close the gap on RHRF. Noted too is that Citibank loan, we are assuming that there's going to be a taxable tail, which is like a taxable construction loan, because there have been pretty large sweeping changes to the bond financing rules with respects to 4% low-income housing tax credits. We've acknowledged that bond commitment might change and agreed to work with HHFDC to maybe return some of those bonds so that they can finance more deals. So, we're assuming that that's going to be an eventuality in this project and are, have had experience closing that types of transactions before in our industry. Briefly, I'll go over a high level of the schedule. So we were here last January 2024, presented before the board and received entitlements for the project. Since then, we've completed the construction documents and have been in for permit for almost 3 months now. Responded to first round plan check comments on various plans. Again, we're shooting for Q2, Q3, permit issuance, hopefully end of Q2, early Q3, which would give us enough time to work with HHFDC staff to close by Q4 of 2026. There's 30-month construction period and about an 20-month stabilization period for leasing up and converting. With that, I'd like to open it up to any questions the board may have about Mayor Right Phase 1A.
Thank you for the presentation. Directors, do you have questions? No questions.
Letting me off easy. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Well, we have a motion on the floor to approve. All those in favor of the motions signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. I don't think it is voting in opposition, so that motion carries. We will go on to the next agenda item, which is 3C. This is to approve a rental housing revolving fund project award for the Mayor Right Homes Phase 1A project located in Honolulu, Oahu, CDK number 1-7-029-003. Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Motion, and do we have a second? Thank you. Before you go on, Dave, I just want to ask if there's any public testimony on this agenda item. Hearing none, we'll turn it back over to you, David.
Thank you, Chair. This for action is to recommend the corresponding award of rental housing revolving fund in the amount of $80 million to the Mayor Right Homes Phase 1A project. This project applied for its RHRF loan as a part of its consolidated application that was submitted on February 14th, 2025, as a part of HHFDC's 2025 consolidated application round. As noted in my previous report, Act 250 Session Laws of Hawaii 2025 appropriated $56 million of the requested $80 million to RHRF for the benefit of this project. The project's application requested a 60-year loan term for the RHRF loan, consisting of a 5-year interim construction period and repayment of 75% of available cash flow after year 5. After evaluation and discussion with the project, staff will be requesting amended terms. So recommendation will be a shorter 55-year loan term consisting of a 3-year interim construction phase with repayment of the same 75% of available cash flow beginning in year 3. Interest will be 0% during the interim period and 0.75% after year 3. The collateral will be a second lien position mortgage, subordinate only to the senior loan. Additional terms of the loan will be the project's loan to value ratio shall not exceed at any time 100% of the RHRF loan and other debt senior to the RHRF loan. There will be no disbursement of developer fee until satisfactory completion of the project. No RHRF funds shall be used for the relocation expenses for tenants in the project. The RHRF project award is always subject to the availability of RHRF funds. The interim RHRF loan shall be dispersed in no more than 2 installments during the construction period, and each disbursement will occur after the project has incurred substantial construction costs and will apply them directly to the reduction of the outstanding balance of the interim construction loan. This RHRF loan will support both interim and permanent financing, and full repayment of the loan is expected by year 51 after the loan conversion based on the recommended terms to the board. Staff has reviewed the request and is recommending that the HHFDC Board of Directors approve the following. The rental housing revolving fund project award loan of up to $80 million to KLM Mayor Right 1A LP for the Mayor Right Homes Phase 1A project with the terms and conditions prescribed in Section 3G of this for action and in the RHRF preliminary commitment letter attached as Exhibit E. Approval is subject to the following: the authorization and approval by the governor for the proposed project and the release of RHRF program funds as mandated under Chapter 15-311 Hawaii Administrative Rules. Also subject to the successful and acceptable execution of documents satisfactory to HHFDC outlining the terms and conditions of the project award. These documents shall specify the standard terms and conditions as required to meet all statutory requirements of RHRF and the specific terms and conditions that are applicable to the applicant's request for project award funds. Completion of all necessary documentation required to secure the release of RHRF funds. Also subject to the certification of the applicant to comply with all statutory and program requirements, including but not limited to chapters 343, 103D, and 104, and section 103-50 of Hawaii revised statutes, as they may relate to the use of state funds. Total fees paid to the developer for the project, including but not limited to developer overhead, developer fees, consultant fees, and project management fees, shall not exceed the amounts indicated in the applicant's consolidated application and within this for action. Also subject to the availability of RHRF program funds. Also requesting the board authorize the executive director to undertake all tasks necessary to effectuate purposes of this for action. I'm available for any questions.
Directors, are there any questions for David? No questions. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, Dave. Okay, we'll move next to agenda item 3D. This is to approve the commencement of the fiscal year 2026 application cycle for the low-income housing tax credit program, rental housing revolving fund program, and the Hula May multifamily tax exempt bonds. Is there a motion, Director? Vote on the motion, and do we have a second? Where you present, is there anyone in the public wishing to give testimony? Okay, we'll go back to you, David.
Thank you, Chair. This for action requests the approval to commence the fiscal year 2026 application cycle for the low income housing tax credit program, the rental housing revolving fund loan program, and the Hula May multifamily tax exempt bond program. As some background, the LIHTC program, which was created under the Federal Tax Reform Act of 1986, provides federal tax credits under Section 42 of the Internal Revenue Code to support the development or rehabilitation of low-income rental housing. Hawaii also provides a state LIHTC credit equal to 50% of the federal credit. HHFDC is the designated allocating agency for both federal and state LIHTC. The Rental Housing Revolving Fund provides low-interest equity gap loans to finance new construction or rehabilitation of affordable rental units. As of October 31st, 2025, the total available resources, inclusive of HHFDC's current balance, legislative appropriations, totals approximately $196.2 million. The Hula May multifamily bond program authorizes HHFDC to issue tax-exempt revenue bonds for private developers to build or preserve affordable rental housing. Bond repayment is the responsibility of the project, not HHFDC or the state. As of October 31st, 2025, there's $515.9 million in uncommitted HMMF bond authority remaining available. I will note that this does not include any awards made today, as approved by the board, as this again was dated October 1st, 2025. The statewide project private activity bond cap available for 2026 is projected at $397.6 million per IRS revenue procedure 2025-32, of which the state of Hawaii will receive a portion, which will be further allocated by the Department of Budget and Finance to determine how much available for HHFDC to allocate for housing. As for a timeline, the proposed 2026 funding round schedule will be as follows. Staff will anticipate applications being available on December 19th, 2025. Applications will be due on February 20th, 2026, and award recommendations will take place June through August of 2026. This does reflect pushing back the timeline, traditional timeline by 1 week. So this is overall 7 days later. I will note, however, staff has been working very hard to implement our new online application scoring and award system through ProLink and Procorum, which will launch this year for developers to submit applications. Therefore, the recommendations for 9% LIHTC and RHRF applications will be presented to the board around June or July of 26. Recommendations for 4% LIHTC bonds and RHRF will follow in July and August of 2026. All applications will be submitted through the new consolidated application using the agency's new online system, which the agency expects to release on December 19th, 2025. The 2026 qualified allocation plan is approved by the board, will govern the evaluation of LIHTC requests received during this application cycle. RHRF availability and marketing. So all our RHRF requests will be subject to the availability of funds, which is approximately 196.2 million, and is currently available, which includes HHFDC and state appropriations. Pursuant to Hawaii Administrative Rules, Chapter 15.311.31, HHFDC is required to conduct outreach and marketing regarding this availability of funds, which will take the form of a notice of funds availability posted by staff on December 19th, 2025. And the NOFA is available as Exhibit A of the 4 action. Therefore, staff recommends that the board approve the following: approval of the fiscal year 2026 LIHTC application cycle as described in Section 3A. Approval of the fiscal year 2026 RHRF and HMF project award application cycle subject to the availability of funds as described in Section 3B. Authorize staff to begin marketing the fiscal year 2026 project award cycle, and to authorize the executive director to undertake all tasks necessary to execute the purposes of this 4 action.
Okay, thank you, David. Directors, do you have questions? No questions. Okay, all those in favor of the motion to approve, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We'll go on to the next. Did you want me to mention?
I was gonna mention it in my report, but I'll mention it now that unfortunately David is going to be, well, it's good for him. He has a new opportunity. He's leaving us. He's going to the city. He'll be joining their new housing department. So David has been doing great work here. As he knows, standing up our 7 programs here, our single family mortgage program. We had a great bond sale early this week, implementing a new online scoring system, which will increase efficiency for the corporation. He's on his way to standing up the new bond recycling program. So a lot of good work that David has done for HHFDC, and I'm happy to have worked with him, and I wish him well.
Thank you, Director, and thank you, Board, for all of your folks' great work and support and opportunity, and making me helping make me successful in this role. But definitely a lot to my multifamily and single family staff. They're going to keep going with this great work. They've done all the heavy lifting. It's not been just me doing all this hard work to stand up these great programs, and I feel like in their hands, we'll continue to move affordable housing forward, and there's a lot more to look forward to. And I feel like, staff is going to bring forward a lot of great things in the future as well. But thank you very much for the kind words and the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And from my perspective, thank you very much for all the dedicated work, professionalism and high standards that you've held yourself and your staff to. It's all the initiatives that you've been a big part of are coming to fruition now and after you leave, and before this board many times, more than I can count, percent for actions, and we really do appreciate you and wish you the best.
My pleasure and honor. Thank you very much.
You don't want to change your mind? Okay, we will move on the agenda to item 3E. This is to approve an affordable homeownership revolving fund project award for the Nanai Keola self-help housing project located in Nanakule, Oahu, TMK number 18-7-008-076. Is there a motion, directors?
So moved. Second.
And we have a second. Before you present, I just want to ask if there's anyone in the public who'd like to give testimony on this item. Hearing none, we'll turn it to Dr. South.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. I am Nathan Serginio, Housing Finance Specialist here at HHFDC. This for action is to approve an affordable homeownership revolving fund project award in the amount of $4,791,800 for the Nana Keola self-help housing project located in non-fully. The applicant is a self-help housing corporation, a nonprofit organization that has been developing affordable homeownership opportunities across the state since 1983. The Nana Keola self-help housing project will develop 87 affordable single-family homes on approximately 12.39 acres of fee simple land in non-Kuli. The homes will serve families earning less than 80% of the AMI. The project will offer 42 one-story, 4-bedroom, 2-bath homes and 45 2-story, 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes. The estimated sales price is approximately $500 or $5,000 per home, and with families contributing sweat equity as part of the self-help model. Construction is expected to begin prior to the end of calendar year 2025, with project completion anticipated early 2028. The RF was established by Act 227 Session Laws of Hawaii 2021 to provide loans to nonprofit community development, financial institutions, and nonprofit housing development organizations for the development of affordable homeownership projects serving families earning up to 120% HUD AMI, area median income. Supplemental appropriations of Act 248 Session Laws of Hawaii 2022 appropriated $5 million in non-reoccurring general funds for the program. On November 17, 2023, the governor signed the administrative rules for the program. On April 24th, 2024, HHFDC published notice of funding availability for the program. On September 17, 2025, the Self-Help Corporation of Hawaii submitted an application for the Affordable Homeownership Revolving Fund. The request is to help address increased project costs resulting from unforeseen delays and economic shifts since the project was initially approved for DER financing in 2022. Total development costs for the Nana Keola self-help housing project is approximately $25.45 million, funded through a Rural Community Assistance Corporation loan of $11.6 million, a dwelling unit revolving fund loan of $7.6 million, a HUD grant of $1 million, sponsored equity of $380,000, and a proposed RF loan of $4.79 million. The project's total development costs have increased from $19.93 million to $25.45 million, 28% escalation. The increase is driven by infrastructure and construction costs associated with permitting and utility coordination delays, inflation in labor and materials, and updated engineering and environmental requirements. Recent construction data shows 8 to 12% annual escalation, still provides support that the revised budget is reasonable and aligned with current market conditions. Repayment of the RF loan will occur through buyer takeout financing, primarily through the USDA 502 Direct Loan Program. The program was recently extended by federal legislation on November 12, 2025, with $1 billion in continuing funding and $32.65 million reserved through September 2027, aligning with the project's anticipated buyer closings from October 2026 to February 2027. As an additional financing option, buyers may use the USDA 502 Guarantee Loan Program, which provides 100% financing for private lenders with 90% USDA loan guarantee. With $25 billion currently available, the Guarantee Loan Program offers a reliable alternative to ensure full repayment of HHFDC's short-term loans. The recommendation term for the $4,791,800 are as follows: fixed interest rate of 1% with 1 point origination fee paid at closing, a 2-year term, construction period only. The repayment during construction will be interest only with full repayment and remaining interest at maturity. The project loan to value ratio shall not exceed at any time 100%. If any extension to the loan term is requested, a fee of 1% per quarter of original principal will apply. All disbursements of the construction financing will be on a drawdown basis, subject to HHFDC approval. The project may be subject to restrictions regarding the sale of dwelling units as set forth in section 21H-47, dwelling revised statutes or such other restrictions. HHFDC has the right to rescind the award or recapture the funds if the terms of the loans are not fulfilled. And lastly, the project award is subject to availability of funds. Staff has reviewed the project and the request and recommends that board approve the following. Award a loan of $4,791,800 to Self-Help Housing Corporation of Hawaii, subject to terms and conditions in section 3G of this for action, subject to the following. The applicant must execute all documentation acceptable to HHFDC, aligning the standard and project specific terms and conditions of the award. The applicant must certify compliance with all applicable statutes and program requirements, including not limited to the Hawaii Revised Statutes, chapters 343, 103D, 104, and 103-50, as they relate to the use of state funds. Also subject to availability of funds, and finally requesting the board to authorize the executive director to undertake all tasks necessary to effectuate the purpose of this fund action. Claudia Shea with the Self-Help Corporation is here to comment on the project and then answer any questions.
Thank you, Nathan. First, just ask the directors if you have questions for staff.
I do.
Director Evans?
I know that the permanent loan is some that seems fairly short for a project of this scope. Can you describe what why the the 2 year?
So short,
So the infrastructure is going to take about 9 months to be put in place, which is what the funding is going to be used for. And the bids are due for selection in early December, which is why we're pushing for this award now. So that we can close the loan and provide the developer the financing needed to get the project going and completed within the loan time.
Term of 2 years though.
The loan term of 2 years is just a contingency in case there's additional time for the infrastructure. The payment will occur beginning in October 2026, when the buyers first start to take out financing. So all buyers are expected to take out financing by February 2027, which is within the term of the 2-year loan period.
Well, for some projects, the loans terms are typically short because it's only for construction. The construction loan is taken out upon the buyers receiving financing to purchase their units.
Thank you. That helps. I have one more question.
Feel free.
Has this project already applied with chapter 343 and either as an exemption, an EA or an EIS?
Yes, the project has already fulfilled the environmental requirements.
Any further questions for staff? We have Claudia Shea, the Executive Director for Self-Help Housing Corporation. By the way, before you take the mic, I just want to let the directors know that we did receive your written testimony, explanation really about your program and some of the challenges that you've had with infrastructure and other related cost-inducing situations. So appreciate the detailed write-up. And at this time, you'd like to say, I don't know if we have questions for you, Claudia, but if you'd like to offer some words.
Well, I appreciate the consideration of the board and, yeah, just due to the challenging economic times and vacillating policies regarding the economy, by an updated delineation of infrastructure costs, it had increased by that much. And there was always delays with processing the subdivision through the city, and especially delays with HECO. In addition, HECO was going to charge $50,000 to developers because they're on the verge of bankruptcy. So, and we also were able to attain the Crown Blue Remnant Road from the Board of Land and Natural Resources that added additional cost for the 3,000 linear feet to the infrastructure. Then also delays challenging repurposing the bridge and repurposing the remnant. So appreciated the help of HHFDC, City and County of Honolulu. We do have 3,000 families on our waiting list. We've been providing pre-purchase financial counseling to them for the past 3 years. We're zoning in on getting the loan dockets together for the first 2 teams. I just got back from a housing conference of 600 people in Washington, DC, in spite of the shutdown of the government. And then afterwards got the report from our lobbyist at the National Rural Housing Coalition. I sit on that board. That, of course, the government was opening up, but the USDA bill had already passed authorization for fiscal year 2026 with Nate mentioned the $32 million for the interest rate subsidy, because the beauty of the RD 502 direct loan program, in addition to being a single close loan, construction permanent loan for the families, it provides a subsidy on the interest rate, whether you're below 50% of the area median income or not. So that's why we like that product. And now it's being fully funded. However, because they're slow at loan processing, we're also going to do the RD 502 guaranteed loan program. The person who heads up that program is actually in Hawaii, John Antonio. He knows my projects. He set up a conference call with me and key people within the Rural Housing Administration to carve out a unique program for the self-help program, because my other grantees throughout the country are interested in also using this funding. And it's great with 100% financing and 90% guarantee. And yes, people below 50 will not qualify for an RD guaranteed loan, but those 60 and above will. And so we're going to try to actually use both of them so that we can qualify people more quickly. 3 banks have already expressed interest in participating in this program. So we're going to try to work with private lenders. I've done a lot of conventional financing, mostly in Maui. And of course, even though it's now 505-100, it appraises at $725,000. So. And we went ahead with bids. We're going to open up bids December 1st. We'll get a general contractor. We already have our NPDES permit, and we've already been pre-approved for permits. So we're going ahead with getting final permitting.
Well, question for you, Claudia. How long has it been taking to get a 502 loan processed?
Yeah.
I'm asking that because I know was talking with Habitat for Humanity and also with some work I'm doing on another nonprofit. It's not been going too long.
Yeah, well, we package the loan ourselves. It's e-dockets now, so that's going to be faster. And usually when I come in with big subdivision like this, they actually use staff in Guam, Saipan, Hilo, and all over the state. So they don't just limit it to Oahu. But I take your point. That's why I'm looking at not just 502, but also the guarantee. And the guaranteed loan program, of course, is through private lenders. And of course, they process much faster than government processors, probably 3 months, I would say, to close, from review to close. And so that's why we want to look at all kinds of financing. Oh, we already do have down payment assistance, by the way, for those below 50% of the area median income, because RCAC, who's in first lien position, they're blind partners, Housing Assistance Council in Washington, DC. And they got a SHOP award already from HUD. So that's going to provide the down payment assistance for those below 50% of the area median income, who also get a 1% loan amortized over 38 years. So that down payment is, the SHOP money is 90% forgivable and 10% payback at 0% interest. So you can. Yeah, but government process is slow.
Any other questions, directors? Thank you. All is filed. If not, we'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve? Aye. Are there any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Wait a moment for the people to come into the room. Oh, this was a really well attended board meeting today. Okay, we're going on to item 3F, which is to approve resolution number 222, expressing appreciation, I might add deep appreciation, to Stanley Fujimoto. Yes. We have to get a motion to approve. It's just an appreciation. It's the approval. Yeah, okay.
So moved.
Follow the rules. We have a motion. Do we have a to approve? Second. Okay, well, hang on. Is there any public testimony on this item? Oh, we have a raised hand. Well, why don't you come back up, Claudia?
I remember Stan from years ago when he helped me out, and later on he helped me out on other projects, so mahalo nui loa and congratulations.
Okay. No.
Thank you, Chair, members of the board. This request is to approve resolution number 222, expressing appreciation to Stanley S. Fujimoto. Mr. Fujimoto has served HHFDC and its predecessor agencies for over 30 years. Currently works in the development section of the development branch. With his extensive experience in all aspects of real estate development and affordable housing, and his incredible wealth of institutional knowledge, Mr. Fujimoto has been instrumental to the functioning of HHFDC and has consistently provided expert guidance as a knowledge leader in his field. In 2022, DBED honored Mr. Fujimoto with its Sustained Superior Performance Award for consistently distinguished service over a long period of time. The board and staff of HHFDC would like to thank Mr. Fujimoto for his dedication and commitment to HHFDC and recognize his more than 30 years of exemplary service to the state of Hawaii. The recommendation is that the board approve the resolution.
Well, you have any discussion on that?
Your comments, Chair.
Yes.
I'd really like to thank Stan for his service to HHFDC. When I first joined HHFDC, it was supposed to be as a housing development specialist. I was then just offered to manage the house development section. I didn't know at the time, but Stan had voluntarily stepped down so I could take a higher position. And but that's just how Stan is. You know, he thinks about the corporation before himself. And he's just been a invaluable, staff person, resource to other staffers here. So we're really gonna miss him here, and I can thank him for his service to the corporation.
I'll just share my oldest memory of Stan Fujimoto. It's in the 90s somewhere. I got your name from Janet Takahashi because I was looking for an example for a request for proposals, because I was tasked to issue one for the county of Kauai. And I called you and you were so kind to talk with me and to send me your file. And we took your file, we modified it a little bit, but it made me look like a genius when I wasn't. I gotta say, and I always remember your generosity for doing that. And very much appreciate it. It's been used multiple times over on Kauai. And I just want to ask, is anyone else? We have a lot of faces that we don't normally see today in the room. If anyone would like to come up and say some words about Stan, this would be a good time. Anybody? Well, just being here is a very impressive sign of support and value. Stan, we will miss your 8 or 9 page 4 actions. Which I must say were incredible to read, just packed with meaningful information from start to finish, just masterful write-ups about project development, and just the depth of knowledge that you carry is just so impressive, so valuable to the corporation. Thank you for all the great years of service.
It's been fun.
That's more fun, Stan.
Thank you very much. For your approval. Claudia, just a short story about Claudia. She came to us, I remember the project that she brought to us, and this was during the earlier periods of her program, so she had to work like twice as hard to try and get us to approve her project, and I remember talking to our staff in-house, they were not too confident about approving a loan to a self-help person. She was by herself basically. And I think I told our staff, we gotta approve this because Claudia has perseverance. And it proved true. She did get the loan, she did repay us, completed her project, and this was her modus operation of all her projects. She battles the city, does many infill self-help project, which includes subdivisions, infrastructure improvements, and sale and development of the homes. So she's doing what we're doing on a larger scale. Her projects are smaller, but she goes through the same difficulties and she has perseverance. She manages to succeed in all her projects. So it's a story about her. Thank you very much for all your. Thanks, Alex.
Right, we have the motion on the floor, directors, all those in favor of the motion to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? No, I didn't hear any opposed, the motion carries. Thanks, Kevin. Hey, we will move on to the next agenda item. This is 3G. This is information on Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation's transfer of the villages of Kapolei infrastructure maintenance, operation, and dedication to the city and county of Honolulu. I'll just ask if there's anyone in the public who would like to offer testimony. Don't hear anyone, so why don't you go ahead and present to us? Thank you.
Hello and good morning, Chair Mackler, directors. I'm Randy Chu, Development Branch Chief at HHFDC. This morning, I respectfully submit to you information on HHFDC's transfer of the villages of Kapolei infrastructure, maintenance, operation, and dedication to the city and county of Honolulu, hereafter referred to as the city. Following is a summary of the facts of this matter. The 1988 Session Laws of Hawaii resulted in the enactment of Act 15 that gave the Housing Finance and Development Corporation, HFDC, the predecessor to the Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation, HHFDC, a greater degree of autonomy from the city county regulations. The law provided that HFDC flexibility in developing housing projects without going through the usual county level review and approval processes. Act 15 stipulated that the HFDC could adopt its own rules on building, planning, zoning, and land use for its projects. These rules were given the force of law and superseded conflicting county rules and ordinances. The intent of Act 15 was to expedite the construction of new housing units to meet the critical need in the state. Act 15 had a 5-year duration, expired in 1993. Its sunset created ongoing administrative and legal challenges related to the conveyance of infrastructure improvements to the city. In 1989, the state of Hawaii acquired land in Kapolei via a negotiated condemnation agreement with the state of James Campbell for the cost of $17,225,200. The property was transferred to the HFDC and targeted to become the first master planned housing community developed by the state of Hawaii, entitled the Villages of Kapolei. The state of Hawaii's vision for the Villages of Kapolei was to develop a 888-acre master planned community to address the state's affordable housing needs. In the capacity of as master developer of the 4,000 plus unit residential community, HFDC constructed major infrastructure such as roadways, sidewalks, streetlights, landscaping, with the goal of eventual dedication to the city. A map of the master planned Villages of Kapolei is depicted in Exhibit A. The construction of the Villages of Kapolei backbone roads within the Villages of Kapolei boundaries commenced in the late 1980s. The annual operation costs for the Villages of Kapolei reflect ongoing HFDC expenditures for infrastructure maintenance, design, construction management, legal support, and dedication transaction activities. As of October 15, 2025, the Villages of Kapolei total project control budget is $227,822,422.79, with 74.85% expended to date. This figure represents cumulative spending from the project's inception under Act 15 to the current dedication transition. Based on expenditure pacing and active contract obligations, HHFDC's FY26 annual operations cost is estimated between $7 to $8.5 million. This is consistent with the April 13, 2023 for-action budget projection. These costs include consultant services, engineering, design and construction of roadway and drainage improvements and repairs, legal title support for dedication, ongoing landscape and infrastructure maintenance. Discussion. In 2022, HHFDC and the city executed a memorandum of agreement, MOA, which established maintenance and rehabilitation responsibilities for the Villages of Kapolei roadways and drainage system prior to dedication. Under the MOA, the city agreed to accept maintenance responsibilities for the roadway and drainage infrastructure once HHFDC improves the infrastructure to a standard acceptable to the city. A new 2025 MOA between HHFDC and the city is being negotiated to replace the 2022 MOA. The 2025 MOA establishes comprehensive terms for the transfer of maintenance, operation, and dedication of the Villages of Kapolei infrastructure to the city. The MOA provides for the city's acceptance and ownership, maintenance, operational responsibility of the infrastructure in its existing condition, and for the city to make improvements to the infrastructure as it deems necessary. The city has requested HHFDC provide a financial contribution of $60 million payable over 10 years to cover the cost for the city to make the improvements and repairs to the infrastructure. It is estimated that HHFDC's operational costs and repairs required under the 2022 MOA would generally be equivalent to the contemplated $60 million in financial contribution. Execution of the 2025 MOA will enable full transition of infrastructure responsibilities consistent with HHFDC's declarant sunset plan by 2030. I'm available to answer any questions you may have regarding this matter.
Thank you, Randy. Directors, questions for Randy?
Andy, city been collecting property taxes on the company?
Yes, the city has been collecting property taxes since its inception 30 some odd years ago.
And has the city been contributing to any of the costs of the improvements and maintenance of the villages of
No, they have not. Their position is that the infrastructure is a privately owned, and so they do not maintain or contribute towards its maintenance or operation.
Is there a homeowners association or villages of Compton?
Yes, there is a Boca or Villages of Copulation has a homeowners association that does take care of some landscaping and common areas. But the infrastructure is 30 some odd years old now. We've repaved it a couple times already. You know, over the years, it has required repairs and maintenance, and it's at a substantial cost to us.
If HHFDC does pay the city 60 million over 10 years, 6 million in costs. Does the MOA require them to maintain the structure at any particular level, or could they simply accept the funds and something?
The funds were intended to make improvements to bring it up to their county standards. Initially, a little background on it. With Act 15, the roads were developed in accordance with a standard that was not consistent with the city standard at that time. I am told that the Villages of Kapolei was basically crafted after some housing developments in Irvine, California, where you see the roads not in a grid fashion, but it's all, you know, curving and things. That's what, if you go to Irvine, you'll see similar kind of residential communities. And the standards for the roads, I believe, followed a standard, an acceptable standard by municipalities, but it was not the city standard at that time.
Question about that. So Randy, will this new MOU establish a timeframe for the dedication of roads if they haven't yet been dedicated to the city? I mean, at what point during the MOU period will that occur up front, or?
The way the MOA is crafted is that upon execution of the MOA and acceptance of the first payment, they will take over maintenance and operations of it, knowing that the dedication to follow. So the land onto which the Villages of Kapolei is under land court jurisdiction, and it takes a while to work through the system. So it is recognized that dedication will need to follow afterwards.
Will there be any provision in the MOA, city does not comply with the conditions that they are required to comply with?
Well, I guess we could withhold payment. It's over 10 years, so equal $6 million a year for 10 years.
Any further questions? Yes, Director Sasaki.
Was it always the intent to dedicate this back to the city?
I believe it wasn't always in the intent to dedicate the infrastructure to the city. However, Act 15 was silent on the part where the city needs to accept dedication.
Other comments, discussion? If not, we'll receive the full information.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, does anybody need a break? No? Let's go on to section 4 of our agenda. This is report by the executive director. Dean?
Just some few quick notes. I mentioned at our last meeting that we had basically developed RFQ and received very good response to it. We have since then selected several developers to work with. They include the Kobayashi Group for projects on Oahu, Bell Company for projects on Maui, Stanford Car, projects on Hawaii Island. And we may select other development teams depending on the level of activity that we take on. And, we're working on a model which could deliver lower cost housing. Again, the reason why we're pursuing this RFP is that we are proactively developing lower cost housing quickly. We're working with the city on a model that we could do so, and if things pan out, I'll provide a presentation to the board in the near future, but it looks promising at this point.
Little context, this is to look for lands that
Are ready for development.
that can acquire or put into motion to develop, and these
Yeah.
RFQ was to seek the assistance of developers that could assess these.
That could assist us from the acquisition through design and construction of projects. So these are primarily, you might call them workforce projects, where not using LIHTC resources, but looking at either leasehold or rent to own model. Using our existing balance, primarily in DERF, to fund this. So we are hopeful that there's a model that we can follow that will prove to be quite fruitful, and I'd like to share that with you if things work out. Also, the finance branch, as mentioned earlier, they completed their bond sale earlier this week. We're still waiting to hear what the pricing, what our rates will actually be for our mortgage, but it went very well, about as well as things could have gone. Also, the online application system for the QAP ProLink was here on Oahu all of last week, providing training to staff. So the staff are very busy and setting that system up so that when developers jump online later this year, hopefully will be a seamless transition. Help the staff immensely from going over multiple 6-inch binders to having everything online. That's all I have.
Okay.
Questions?
Okay, if not, it just brings us to the adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
We had about a couple of things.